this technique that I'm going to be sharing with you, which I call the fuel angle tool method, and that probably because I'm not very, um, I'm very understated when it comes to things that I originate, um, is a method that I actually got um, intuitively driving in a car across the United States many years ago. And it occurred to me at the time the basic rudiments of it. And then as I started to think about it and work with it, of course, applied it to my own chart, people in my life, my regular clients, and I started to see, wow, this can really be something. And here's the real reason why I put this method, this technique out there is because this is a very quick and extremely thorough way to delineate any angle that you have, that you are wanting to look at. And it can be the major, the four angles. You can also go for example, things like the vertex or the anti-vertex or others. But once you get the basic idea and the principles behind it, I think you're going to really be able to apply this well. So I'm going to be speaking here and sharing with you kind of the basics of it, the building blocks of it. Then I'm just going to take a brief pause for some questions, and then we're going to dive further into maybe looking at some chart examples. Okay? So to begin here then, just make sure I got here. There we go. So angles are dyads. It's every astrologer working today, at least Western astrologers. I can't speak for our Eastern brothers and sisters, but Western astrologers, we are all guilty of this. When we look at the ascendant, we completely ignore the descendant. We're not even thinking about the descendant. However, every angle is a half of a dyad. So what is a dyad? It's a whole that is composed of two individuals. And that's what makes the whole. This is a main theme underlying this technique. So I'm going to be emphasizing and arguing for that position to take throughout this lecture. So obviously, angles are oppositional in nature, where the ascendant is, if you will, let's just call it the ecliptic rising. The descendant is the ecliptic setting. Okay, so you cannot have one without the other. And because they are these dyads, and they are literally defined and created from opposite sides of our local visible space, they're always functioning in relationship to one another. This is very important to remember when you're looking at, for example, when you meet someone, you ask them what their rising sign is, or you're working up a chart to do a reading, and you're looking at a midheaven degree, or sign. Please start to consider, how does your delineation of their IC inform your focus on the MC? And I hope in this lecture I'm going to be giving you ways to do that. So this is another thing when it comes a little bit more, I'm leaning into a little bit more of the idea of transits and progressions, and when we direct charts. Changes to one angle will force changes in the other. You cannot have, for example, transiting Pluto hitting your ascendant and not have it directly affect your descendant area of your life. So for those kind of newer to astrology, I just wanted to give two graphics. This is the first one here. You can see here that the ascendant and descendant are of course opposite each other. That center point is a discrete point in time and in space from which we view up, down, left and right, rising and setting, etc. And you can see there the horizon is one of the circles that defines the ascendant descendant. The ecliptic is the other, whereas the local meridian is the other circle along with the ecliptic that defines the midheaven and the IC. Okay. Here's another way to look at it, and this is my very amateurish attempt to do some graphics on a computer with my little mouse here. So if a person is laying on their back looking up from any point, let's say lying on a beach or at the top of a mountain or on the top of your apartment building, wherever. And if you put the ascendant to the left side of your body, then that's where all planets will be rising into view from invisibility below the Earth, from there into view, and then of course culminating at the middle heaven, and then coming down and eventually setting through the setting point, the descendant, and the IC, the Imum Coeli. I have renamed this for myself and my students and people who have taken my trainings as the low heaven or the in heaven. I really like that because I do a lot of work with the IC with my clients, because it is something that if they can even make 5% increase in awareness of themselves in that area of their chart, it can really positively benefit all the other areas of the chart. So I call this the in heaven. It's a heaven, but it's entirely contained within the psyche, or within the body, or within the body mind. So what makes the angle so important? And my basic idea here boils down to locality. Angles create an energetic architecture through the intersection of those two planes, each one different, that frames or contextualize a person's local life on Earth. And then if you go out, if you extend that same principle, if you literally extrapolate it, Earth within space, in this case, and within our solar system space. So again, angles create an architecture that emphasizes locality. You know, just a little side observation I've made. We all call it the birth chart. I think it should be called the breath chart, because that first breath, or that little glottal flap of skin at the base of the throat, when the little infant, newly born, takes its first breath through its mouth, that imprints what's rising, what's setting, what's above, and what's below. And that is such a powerful data point or fact of the start of human life that really, I think, speaks directly to the power of angles. The angles frame what's up, what's down, what's coming into view, what's disappearing from view.